Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Troy.
And I'm Ben-Jamin Toy.
We're broadcasting from the Cohesion Culture headquarters in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where even when it rains, the sun still shines.
You're going to hear real-time stories from leaders confessing their most crucial or recent experiences in business.
Learn what their cost them, steps they took to fix it, and how they planned
to not do that one again. All right, we are live. Not live. You know what I mean. We are recording.
Okay. So Josh, the goal was for him not to have to cut stuff from the beginning, dude. We're supposed to be like starting out like we have a for real guest, not us being fake guests for the show.
And this is all just fodder for the show.
I guess it is. It's sort of how it works, right?
So we're learning as we're going.
Yeah, they've actually listened enough to us in that intro that we created. If they had any opportunity to listen to the YouTube versions, they heard us do some accents.
Yeah.
But we're going to stick to my straight accent today for whatever it is.
Yeah. And we figured that we're going to call this episode 0 before we actually have a guest and kind of maybe give the background of why we're doing it. And then we have our own stories. I'm sure we're going to be able to relate to guests in the future, but we've had our own moments too.
Yeah. So let's start out with the podcast and how it got started. And for me, it was the creation of a B2C program called the Cohesive Leader. And our work prior to this, we did Cohesion Culture, which is a program that we put out to corporations, companies, and their employees. So it becomes a B2B. And what we've recognized over the last 4 or 5 years is there is a great demand for individuals who want to be that cohesive leader. And they are dissatisfied with the fact that they don't get the kind of training or development that they need inside their organization. I think a statistic you share with me was like, 56% of people that are not feeling like their company is giving.
Well, they're not seeing it. So either there are programs that they have, but they're not well marketed. Yeah. There's barriers to entry. Yeah. So they're not feeling they have the chance to grow, develop, and advance.
Yeah. And also they may be getting passed over for promotion and they don't really understand why. So what we've sort of prepared for them is this program that really lets them figure it out.
Absolutely.
So the Cohesive Leader is a program that's designed to help those individuals who are dissatisfied with their current employer, who says, I'm not getting the kind of development activities and opportunities I want. I'm being passed over for promotion. So there's that group, but also we have a group of individuals who like where they're working and they want to be retained and they want to grow and develop within that company. So that's great too. Yep. So we really kind of have both of those areas covered, and I'm excited about what that program will produce. And I think there's like 4 or 5 things that we're doing. Podcast is one of them.
Yep. And we wanted to take a unique angle on this podcast. There are many things out there that are leadership driven. And a lot of them are, these are things you should do. Here are the techniques. Here's the science. Here's this. And I learned early on in my career of investing in myself and going to conferences and having a coach that you can either learn from mentors or mistakes. And when you learn from mentors, you learn from their mistakes. So it shortens the learning curve and speeds things up. I've also heard if you want to succeed faster, you fail faster.
Well, the mentoring thing is definitely a big deal, and it is a part of the Cohesive Leader program. So we have a book that we're launching.
Becoming a Cohesive Leader.
The Power Up Guide to Grow, Develop, and Advance Your Career. We're also doing the podcast, which you get to hear real-time stories from leaders who have these experiences, and then, what did it cost them, and how did they have to fix it, and how do they plan not to do it again? Right? Because that would be important for that. We have an online learning platform where individuals will be able to do it, but probably the most exciting part of it is being able to offer the Cohesive Leader community so that we can welcome in adventurers and pathfinders and trailblazers who really want to take advantage of this top-notch leadership program and advancement materials.
Yes, we're exciting. It's going to be a great journey. We invite you to come along with us, and we're going to have folks from all over the country, different industries, all backgrounds. So it's going to be really, really crazy. And we don't know what we're going to learn.
We're going to learn something because my mantra is you don't have to know everything. You just
have
need
to be teachable.
Right. So part of this cohesive leader journey for us is our purpose is to guide people to grow and develop and advance in their career for the career they want, not the jobs they have. Oftentimes people have to settle for a job, but what would it be like if you could really start to design your career and move forward? And what I really loved about what you said about the mentors is, I know for myself, a big change happened in my career when I accepted the voice of the mentor that I knew was giving me information to really help me, not somebody who was trying to take over for me or try to get me to be a little mini them, but to really help bring myself forward, which is, I think, one of the reasons why I really like the coaching aspect of the things that I do with individuals. But specifically the mentoring comes from my experience when I was in the Philippines. I have a story about that.
Let me hear it.
So when I was doing some work in the Philippines, I had an opportunity to go to a cacao farm. Do you know what a cacao farm is?
Cacao's where chocolate comes from?
It is. I thought maybe you were going to say I stuttered since I said cacao.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it's where the chocolate comes from. So we had an opportunity to plant a cacao tree. So part of our experience was working with individuals within the community to help them understand their opportunities for savings and their opportunity for credit utilization. So we went to a cacao farm. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, the royalty that I met when I was there. I met Rachel Cho, who is the queen of chocolate in the Philippines.
Interesting.
I know. I would say sweet right now, but that probably, maybe turn off some people because it was too corny. But I don't know. I'm a dad joke kind of guy, So I just tell those dad jokes. It'll work out.
I mean, I don't understand people without any sense of humor. They aren't any pun.
Uh-oh.
No, it's all good. That's a good one.
Yeah, that was good. All right. So we're there at the cacao farm. And so we have this seedling that we're going to plant. But they tell us the story first, and they talk to us about the fact that they really let these seedlings start and they grow for, I don't know, maybe 6 months or 3 months. And they start getting like little leaves on the top of the sprout. Okay, that's a really cool thing, right? If I could plant anything and have green come out of it, I feel like I've done a good job, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the surprising thing is that they then snip it off. I'm like, whoa, you just cut the green off. Like, what's going on? And what I learned is that they then slit the top of part where they cut it off, and they graft a mature piece of a cacao tree to it. And then they wrap it with a plastic and secure it so that bugs and things won't get into it. And the interesting thing that we learned is, well, first I'll ask you this question, is if you were to guess, how long do you think it takes for a cacao tree to produce the chocolate that we would then enjoy?
If it's anything like a bamboo tree, 5 years.
That's correct, 5 years. And now, on your best guess, what do you think happens when you graft that mature cacao tree to the young seedling? How long do you think then it takes?
Probably cuts a year off.
Cuts it in half.
Wow.
Goes from 5 years to 2.5 years. So I've always thought about that, like with mentoring, going, it's that exponential growth that you can get when somebody else is helping you along.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But when you're able to go after that relationship with the willingness to learn, but asking the questions in that aspect of, okay, what did you learn from it? How do I avoid from it? Some folks just want to know, tell me what to do. No, like the lesson, you just got to understand, here's the rationale, because if you don't learn the rationale behind it, when you're confronted with something that's slightly different, you're going to make those mistakes again because you didn't have the thought process behind it.
Right. And you have to be willing to put the thought process into it. You have to sometimes be willing to be wrong to further what is right. So stepping back from that. So I'm going to relate, for my turn, I'm going to relate my story to my experiences to the mentor. I'll bring back that Philippine story, but I think I want to start with yours first.
Okay.
So I know that you have a very positive attitude about life, and I think this may have been a little bit of a struggle for you to come up with an experience, because you don't always think of them that way. You always figure workarounds and you keep going. But for the benefit of those individuals listening to us who don't have that background and experience, it's not that they can't have it, it's just not there yet. So let's start with your experience that you prepared for today. So like with our guests that we would normally have, we would just say, hey, we welcome you. We ask you to tell us a little bit of your background and bio. So let's just start with that. What's some things that we want people to know about you? Oh, by the way, that's not on your resume.
Nice. But I'm going to first address the fact that why I think the way I do is I have developed myself to squash the ants really quickly. So the automatic negative thoughts of a situation.
Oh, whoa. Do that again.
Squash the ants.
Ants, A-N-T-S.
Automatic negative thoughts. And they just don't take root in my brain. And because I come up with solutions, or I think through it, or I always look at what I'm learning in the moment, I have been conditioned to think about what I'm learning. So the most recent experience that I can think of was
we're not your experience. You're supposed to tell me something about you. It's on your resume.
Gotcha.
Yep, that's okay. That's what we do here when we interview.
Gotcha. Yep. I have hiked about 50 miles in Yellowstone virtually barefoot, wearing toe shoes.
Okay, and I also know something about you. Like, you have 27 near-death experiences that would not be on your resume. So was the barefoot part of any of it? Oh, so you had 27 near deaths and a barefoot experience.
Yep.
Okay, great.
I've probably got a couple 100 miles of hiking barefoot.
Okay, great. All right. Well, thank you for making that connection before we get to the content.
Awesome.
Okay, good. Now tell me just a little bit about the experience.
All right. So we have an app that we create scavenger hunts with. It's an engagement platform. And when I'm building these games, there's a whole bunch of tasks that we put into them. And the view mode for it is I have the option of on the map showing them as scores. So every checkpoint shows the score, because that's how we play the game. I want the people to play the game to see the points of all these checkpoints, and that makes their decision on where they're going to go.
Okay.
But in the building mode, sometimes it's a lot easier for me to build it in order mode. So as they're in there, there's an order. There's task 1 all the way up to 150, 200, whatever it is. So on the map, I get to see where the number is, and I get to see where it is, so I make a change. Recently, I was out of town, and I built a game for my team to facilitate, and I didn't switch it out of build mode in that view. The game was ready to go. It was flawless and everything else. But about 20 minutes into the game, I get a message, hey, these don't look like the numbers that I normally used to seeing, because my facilitators have not seen the back end. They don't build, like, they just facilitate.
Right.
And I said, what's going on? And I said, oh, I knew what that was. And I was able to actually make the change real time and then push it. And it made a change. Didn't even have to address it to anybody else, because then they got to see it, because we make a point that it's not about speed or racing. We're not racing anybody, but it's about points. But the crazy thing is, like, task 4, you think it's only worth 4 points when it could be worth 100 points or something, right?
Okay.
So that was the
So before you go further into some of that detail, you mentioned we a couple of times, and you talked about scavenger hunts and people doing it. So are these like employees that are doing this, like your employees?
They are contractors.
So you have contractors who are doing the game?
They are facilitating it for companies.
Oh, for companies.
So companies hire us to facilitate.
And who's the us? Hire who?
On Purpose Adventures.
Okay. And On Purpose Adventures is that team building, team bonding program,
correct?
Right?
Yep.
Okay. Not to be confused with Nature Adventures, which is your kayaking. And
yep.
Okay, good. All right. So we got that. So we know that you have this experience around this game that you create, and you have facilitators who administer or facilitate that game to companies, and these would be employees of companies who are coming to have this experience, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's where we are. And somebody called you and they went, Ben, this is not working.
Yeah.
And then you responded.
I responded where this could have been really bad, and I've actually gone entire games and never fixed it. And people wonder, their strategy was very different and it really affects the game when you're going for points, and that was a big deal. but I learned, I'll jump right into what I did with because of this.
Yeah.
Was there is now a process of when I build a game, I have a facilitator go in and check my work. So I literally now have a checks and balances in my processes of checking this. Okay, it's not in this, it's not in that. I mean, now there's a checklist on my own, but I still mess up. I still do that.
Yeah. So this is your checker.
Yep, that's a good one.
So it's an checker.
Yep.
Look at that. We just created a job description.
Checker.
Right here. Can you believe it? I just it's so fantastic. Yep. All right. So that's what the was. And then you told us how you fixed it. What did it cost you?
Fortunately, this one cost me nothing.
Okay. So money-wise, right? It cost you nothing money?
No.
Were there some other costs that could be associated with it, what I might refer to as in-kind costs?
Yeah.
Like, was there a reputation? Was there a leadership cost? I mean, what else do you think may have been a unintended consequence of the
Well, it's always a challenge when, as a leader, I make the mistake and somebody else is kind of having to pay for it. Pay for it in the sense of, oh, they can't explain it right away if someone brought it up. Luckily, the facilitator themselves noticed it. None of our clients noticed it. So there was actual notice to the end client. So from a leadership cost, I'm seen as making a mistake, but I'm also seen as human, right? So I'm seen as fallible, which is okay, authentic. But there's also I'm not detailed and all that, and that's clearly well known by my team.
Yeah.
That I move, I fire, and then maybe aim and then ready. So there was a little bit of cost to that, but it also, again, I can't help but do it. It was a great learning curve.
Yeah.
For it also educated my facilitator to, oh, now she knows how to fix it. She doesn't have to ask me. She knows exactly when I see this, she knows what to do.
Okay, great. And when you first got the call, though, I want to kind of go back to that for a second, just because I think it's important for the way we interact with people.
Yep.
So when you first heard it, was your initial reaction that the facilitator screwed up, or that maybe, oh my gosh, it could be something wrong with the software of the game or the activity? Or, I mean, were you looking to push the blame somewhere else?
The crazy thing is about 95% of any of our issues that we have in our experiences are user errors on the client side. Learning, not using the app properly, pressing the wrong button, doing things like that.
That's like when you give them a warning and tell them you're going to cost them $200 if they do something wrong.
Something, absolutely.
Do something wrong,
yep.
It still costs them $200, and then they want to complain about the fact. Okay, I got you. Okay,
and in this scenario, or in using the app, a lot of times it's they press a button or they closed it too quickly. They didn't read something. They didn't do something. And that one requires customer service and hospitality conversations of how to handle that appropriately. But in this particular instance, the moment it was mentioned, I knew exactly what I did, because I actually caught my same error in the experience that I was creating on the same day in another location. I'd already made the mistake and caught it in that game myself. So, I knew exactly what it was. I knew my error.
Right. So how did you take accountability for that that occurred when the person called you and then you figured out how to fix it? How did that accountability conversation go?
I let her know what I'd done or what the issue was. I apologized and fixed it. Yeah.
Pretty simple, easy.
I don't even know if I apologized, because it didn't really affect that much.
Right. I mean, I agree too. It's not like you had to overly. I'm very conscientious in talking with people and reminding them that when you apologize or when you say you're sorry, it has to be meaningful, right? And it has to also have context to it.
Yep.
You can't just want to just say, oh, I'm sorry for everything. Like, I want to talk to you on the phone and you're already on a call with someone else, and then you tell me you're sorry. Right. I'm like, I don't need you to be sorry about that. You were just doing something else. So
the apology could have been a scenario of if this was caught much later or not at all, that the place that I put the facilitator in to have to deal with an unhappy customer or somebody that thought they were playing the game correctly and not, because the rules were stacked against them in the sense that we didn't have this setting correctly.
Right.
So that's where it could have been a whole lot worse, is that they would have had to have handled that type of customer service issue,
Yeah.
and that would have been my fault.
Right. So if we can kind of recap this a little bit before we transition into my then we would talk about what you described was a situation with a gaming activity
Mm-hmm.
where you were notified that the gaming wasn't really working the way it was supposed to because a switch needed to be flipped to move it from your production mode into game mode,
Yep.
basically. And the opportunity may have cost you reputation, but because of your relationship, and really, I know you, just your good nature about things, like a lot of stuff just rolls with you. You don't look to put blame on someone. And I can say that firsthand because I work with you, and you don't look to blame me even when there are times when you probably should, but we're okay with that. So for the reputation, you took steps to fix it. And then, I really loved the checker, which is how I'm not going to do that one again.
Yeah.
I'm going to have someone or something in place to really make this work.
So actually, there is a cost to it. I now pay more out of pocket to this person to work, right? But that's a preventative measure, right? A few dollars here and there. I mean, literally, it takes 20 minutes to go through an experience or less.
Absolutely. Because imagine if that experience had translated to the consumer,
Yep.
To your client,
Yep.
what that would have cost you in the long run
Yep.
would have been different than the reputation with your employee that you have an opportunity to fix because you've got a lot of intensity. They have relationship with
Yep.
you. But if this was a client that you just got one time and you had this big mess up or this big
Yep.
that was occurring, then they may not want to trust you for future activities.
And here's one thing where I run with it a little bit more, working on a big event, and this facilitator was going through the new stuff that I created for this activity and found about 12 typos in the game. So I want her to change those. However, I also know that they don't matter in the sense that I've watched people play the game and they don't read. So they go so fast. Like, I don't have a care to that much. And I also know the stats. If you mess up words, people still read them and all that. So like, part of me is, okay, I get it, but it's not worth me taking my time to go back and do it all. So I'd rather pay someone to go behind me and do it.
Well, sure. I mean, that makes sense. And those are business choice decisions that we have to make.
Yeah.
But the folks who are listening don't necessarily have a team of people.
Nope.
They are the people.
Yeah, they are the people.
So they have to think about how that impacts them individually and move on from that.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, great job, Ben. Thanks for sharing
No problem.
that experience.
I'm happy. And like you said, it took me a little while to think about it, but actually that was very recent. Yeah. So based on the coloring of your hair, I'm sure there's a litany of those moments, but can you remember them? What's the most recent one?
It was tough remembering them. So my experience goes back to when I first started working, and I've been working for a long time. So my first real job was in 1974. Yeah, I know, really, you weren't even born then. Most people listening probably weren't born yet. But for me, 1977, I started with a financial institution in Pittsburgh. And that went very well for a period of time. But then there were some internal things that were happening within the company, and I wasn't really excited about the leadership and the choices they were making and the things that they were doing. And I found myself in this rut of, I don't know, feeling like I had to make a commentary when we're in a meeting of discovery and someone's sharing something and I didn't like what it was. And then I felt like, well, I needed to sort of put my little jab of displeasure, into that particular thing, like under my breath, saying a little something, or maybe whispering to the person next to me and telling them, like, yeah, right, here we go again. Not really taking the information that they were presenting and making it of value to me. I was devaluing the information on really a pretty regular basis. And, for myself, like, I have a quick wit, and I don't think I understood how that was being so damaging. I joke sometimes and say sarcasm is my second language.
I resemble that remark. So go ahead. Yeah.
But I really, and it came to a head with a mentor. So that's sort of the mentor kind of got involved into the situation. But that's basically that's the framework to set you up for the situation. That was my experience, was sort of creating those derogatory, sort of side mouthing kind of things.
What do you believe is the motivation behind the quick one-liners, the jabs, or the need for the joke, getting someone to laugh?
I think for me, it was lack of self-confidence. I don't believe that I thought I was better than I was, and I felt that I hadn't achieved some point of grandeur. I thought I should have been higher up in the organization. But what I recognized after a period of time is I was my own worst enemy. I was the one keeping me from advancing. It wasn't, I may have blamed that somebody else was passing over me, or somebody else was getting ahead. But when I, think back and recall that particular situation, I realized I was the one messing up. And I was the one that wasn't really putting my best foot forward. And I had forgotten some very important messaging that my mother taught me. We talked about my mom, Fanny, aka Mom. Yeah. And, she often would tell me that my character would be defined by the choices I made, not the circumstances I found myself in. So I might be in a circumstantial meeting where I'm hearing unpleasant information or information I may not be able to trust. And so the question then becomes, do I become that smart alecky kid who then puts those little side comments out? Is that the character that I really wanted people to see? And although deep down inside it wasn't, unfortunately, that's what I was projecting.
Yep.
I was projecting that. So it was a hard lesson to learn in that. So, and in the book, the Cohesive Leader book, we each share some personal stories. And so it's one of the stories that I share that's called side mouthing. And I'd gotten an advancement. So it's like I'd been doing this for a while, apparently not realizing how detrimental my negative sort of behavior was, how toxic it was to the culture. I mean, today I'd be like, oh my gosh, these are the people that, we work to try to help, change their attitudes or change their behaviors towards others. We spend a lot of time in creating that infusion of cohesion into the culture. And I thought, oh my gosh, I was a prime candidate. I was the person that could have used that information. Fortunately, I had a mentor who pulled me aside at one of the meetings and basically told me that I needed to think differently. And so I'm going to just share a little bit of that story here with you. And so I was serving as a training specialist in a large multi-billion-dollar company. And my role at that time was primarily writing sales training. And I had other areas of management experience prior to getting there. But that is my roadblock. I kind of got stuck into that particular position. And it's because of that, behavior that I was explaining before. So, we're at a full employee company meeting and senior leadership was announcing there would be some change in operations and organizational structure. And some of my colleagues were processing that information inwardly, and then they were filtering it through a negative lens, which I myself filtered through a negative lens. And I started muttering information about, how I didn't believe this to be true, there was problems, they don't know what they're talking about. Gee, if I were in charge, I would certainly do something different. And, I really, feel bad that I have to admit this, but, he really took me aside and he told me that he had watched the reactions of those in the meeting. And so I paraphrase the advice he gave me. He says, when hearing a corporate initiated change or any change for the matter, especially for the first time, nod your head up and down to show you're following along. Make eye contact and from time to time, give full attention to the speaker and never, I mean never ever, look at the person next to you and speak out of the side of your mouth. He said that all people were watching. And so it's not that you should then go and hide it in the corner, but basically was saying you want to demonstrate not only in public, but also in private, that same sort of behavior that is more uplifting or positive, and I can disagree with it, but there are ways to go about disagreeing with it. And that's what I love in my coaching opportunity, is to help people figure out how they can go about, with the displeasure of information and get more clarification and really, figure out if it can make a difference to them. So, and it cost me promotions is what it really cost me. It cost me an opportunity to advance because I was seen in a negative light. I wasn't seen as a person who was, and I'm not just saying it's not a, kiss your butter, it was, see how I did that, kiss your butter? Yeah. See how I did that?
Do you know the difference between brown nosing and butt kissing?
Okay, no, but you're going to tell me.
Yeah, depth perception.
Yep, there you go. That was really good. Oh, I could probably consider that a dad joke. But the cost to me was my advancement, and it wasn't until I began to change the behavior, which is why I often tell individuals that I'm working with, especially in mentoring, is that you have to act like the career you want, not the job you have. If you want to be a manager, you have to start acting like a manager before you get the job. It's not like, oh, gee, I have all the qualifications, because people will view your actions and what you're doing as part of those qualifications. And if they never see you acting in that way, then they may not feel comfortable that you can actually take on that role and do it.
That's true.
Yeah. And then the steps I took was I just stopped talking outside of my mouth, and I started thinking more about what my mom told me and saying, I don't want those situations to create me like this really naysayer, negative person. I love optimism, and that's just been something that's really changed me and guided me now.
How would you handle those that would reply to that saying, well, that's not the authentic you, or, you should be able to say what you think and who do what what you need to do or what you feel you need to do? How would you approach those folks?
Well, I would say you always are entitled to your opinion. You just don't need to speak it all the time. Like, there's a right time that you can get the message done. So are you going to be a bull in a china closet and just, move your way through? Or will you be strategic in the way you have conversations to get what you want done and to enlist the support from others? So it's not about being less authentic. It's not about being disingenuous at all. It's about knowing when you speak up and when you don't.
Yep.
When you show sometimes those true colors. And if I had gone to my mentor, and he actually told me this, said, if you feel that bad about things, he said, you can come and talk to me. He also happened to be a supervisor within my chain of command. And the one thing that I remember taking from that, which is such a good HR example, and what I know many HR practitioners share, is that you criticize in private and you praise in public.
Yep.
So I had that opportunity that if I was going to criticize that, I needed to do that in private. The other thing he learned that he taught me was that I can vent upwards, but you cannot vent sideways or down.
Yeah.
So I can't vent to a colleague, and I can't vent to someone who might be junior in the organization or in my reporting structure who might be below, but I can always vent to the supervisor. That's the direction. So those are just some of the simple little things we sort of built into this cohesive leader program. So, I mean, really just taking all of the, I think I've taken every mistake I've ever made and figured out how not to do that one again and kind of build it into the book.
I would say so. Yeah. And, in my journey of entrepreneurship over the last decade and a half or so, technically I've had businesses for over 20 years, but what we're trying to convey with the book is that if you're part of the 59% that is looking for growth, development, advancement, don't see it. No, if you're part of the 59% that don't see it,
right,
those opportunities in your organization, you can go out and take advantage of your own. You can invest in yourself. You can go see and do those things. So, because you don't have to wait for somebody else to give you permission.
Exactly. And we do know that 71% of all employees inside of an organization look for growth, development, and advancement. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're trying to take over the company. It's just that they want to be better prepared in the event there is an opportunity, or they want to be recognized for that increased opportunity within their role that might translate to a better than a 3% increase when it comes to an annual performance evaluation. So it's those types of things. And it's, the book is called Becoming a Cohesive Leader, the Power Guide to Grow, Develop, and Advance Your Career. And power stands for a different letter of something to do. And the up part, which is really pretty cool, is for those individuals who are going to be a leader of people, there were some things for them too. So where the cohesion culture book specifically only focused on the leaders within the organization and their roles with their employees, this is just a nice take on giving those individuals a focus on what they need to do to really power up their performance,
Their individual journey.
Yeah, their individual journey.
And that's where this podcast, the book, the program, is almost geared to be, if it wants to be, for the 39% stat recently came out that 39% of the current workforce does not want to be a supervisor. They do not want to manage people.
Yeah.
So almost half don't see themselves going there. They just want to be good at their job. They want to have work-life integration. Some just want balance so they can shut off. They want to be more than what they are, but they want to work well with people, but they don't want to manage. They don't want to be responsible for people.
Right. And that came from an interview with the TikToker who had this opportunity to get an advancement in her career, and she turned it down. And when people asked her why, she says, for all the stuff I've put up with, it was only $1 more an hour. It wasn't worth it for my work-life integration. I believe she may have used work-life balance, but I prefer to use work-life integration because we're integrating life and work. It's so hard to keep them completely separate all the time, but we can integrate them. We can think about, because we often do at work, we think about home, at home we think about work. So how do you come up with a healthy way to navigate that? And sometimes when you talk about balance, it makes you think about juggling, and I'm really not a good juggler anyway. So why not think of integrating them and making them work in tandem with each other? So.
I don't know though. When I remember being an employee for a while, and I was able to, when I was off the clock, I didn't have to think about anything other than so it's an interesting time. Like now it's been, my mind's always on it. So yeah, I hopefully integrate it and am able to control that mindset, which is what I think most professionals have to do nowadays. Yeah. Very few folks get to turn off their brain.
Yeah. All right. So we've shared our experiences. So I think can you recap for folks my
Sure.
and
early in your career, you were given the fortuitous interaction with an mentor or superior that said not to side mouthing. Yeah. Even and that was hard, with a quick wit and a tongue, and thinking that you needed to be heard sometimes, but that it actually was hindering you in your advancement and your likability within your peers, and then especially within your the management. So learning to say things when they need to be said and never vent sideways or down.
Yeah. Thanks. Good.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I love going on this journey with you. We're entering the journey from two different perspectives. If you are watching this particular podcast on YouTube or some other social media, you will see that I am in my coat with my tie. Well, it may not always be the case, but because I really have come from a very formal background, from a formal educational perspective, and also from just the corporate world. I've worked in that for 40 years.
And for those that can't see me, I dressed up today and I wore a polo.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has a collar.
It has a collar. Yeah. Often I'll be in a t-shirt or performance wear or yellow camo t-shirt. So, I am wearing flip-flops and shorts. And he's Dr. Troy is in a blazer and khakis, right?
With slacks. Yes, okay. Slacks. Yeah.
I now know. So I've learned from Dr. Troy, from his wife, that the difference between khaki and tan is that khaki has green in it.
Yes.
So now I visually see it. Now that it's been pointed out to me, I actually see that.
I didn't see it either until she did.
Oh, I can see the hue of green.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that she actually takes care of me and kind of dresses me up a little. So I call it, she puts my clothes together. I sort of like little animals, everything kind of matches, and I can kind of mix and match.
Because I have like 4 or 5 different, what I would have always called khaki shorts, because they go well with yellow camo, amazing enough. But I'm like, oh yeah, the khaki goes so much better than the tan.
Right. Yeah.
So
great.
Anyways.
Well, so here we have come to the end of our first podcast with cohesive leaders.
And it's been a great journey.
It is a great journey, and we have so much more to do. There are so many great stories that are going to be shared with this weekly podcast. And I can't wait for individuals to start interacting with us within the community, start providing comments. I just really will encourage people who want to interact with us that we will speak to you through social media. If you put comments in, we'll put comments back and be able to really figure out how we can create a conversation, because that we learn so much through those conversations, and we can learn so much through the conversations. Not only do we, but we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I guess we got to figure out our closing. So maybe we end it with the way we did the camp, when you don't have to know everything.
You just need to be teachable.
There we go.